I ran 6 marathons in 6 months and worked my way down to like 304 or something like that. And with that, obviously that's not sustainable. And I didn't know it at the time, but it wasn't. And with that came, plenty of injuries and sorts of complications and whatever. So it took a ton of work to get from there, even to, probably 3 times the amount of work from there to get to the 232 where I am now. And I think that the version of myself, I guess, to answer your question, before the 232 is
Hey everyone, welcome back to the People Run podcast. Today I have Max here with me. Really looking forward to this episode, some insights that we're going to talk about here. Great guy coming out of Chicago. With that further said, man, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Max, thanks for being on. Starting right away, my guy here has had a recent big PR of 232 marathon. Most people see that and assume, man, he's really fast, been doing it all the time. He's always in shape. But I think from your history, from your story, from what you've shared, there's been some injuries and battle to get to that 232. What was the version of you before this look like, before the 232, and how does it feel to be like update 232 marathoner?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. Seriously, it means a lot. It's been a pretty crazy 3 years, maybe 2.5 years since I really started taking it seriously.
Yep.
I ran in high school, and that was fine. I wasn't really in love with it like I am now. And I guess to give a full backstory, like I went to college, I did the fraternity thing, and it wasn't really like a running conducive environment, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I tried to run here and there, and I would get hurt, and I just wasn't taking the greatest care of myself. So how that kind of came to be is I signed up for Chicago 2023, and I was like, I'm really going to commit to this. Like, I'm going to actually do it, go through with it, run the marathon. Like, I just want to finish one. Like, it's going to be amazing. And from there, it was like, all right, I ran a 3:30. I was like, oh, wow, well, that was pretty fun. And like, I negative split the race by like 15 minutes. So I was like, oh man, I think there's more here. Maybe I could actually be good at it. And from there, I ran 6 marathons in 6 months and worked my way down to like 304 or something like that. And with that, obviously that's not sustainable. And I didn't know it at the time, but it wasn't. And with that came, plenty of injuries and sorts of complications and whatever. So it took a ton of work to get from there, even to, probably 3 times the amount of work from there to get to the 232 where I am now. And I think that the version of myself, I guess, to answer your question, before the 232 is being hurt all the time, not being able to really put on a lot of volume. And how that changed is strength training, really, and PT and changing certain things about my training, like progression, doing certain different types of runs and within the training. And also, I think one of the biggest things is just how I've changed my mindset, how I view myself as a runner, as a person in general, I think. And how my relationship to running, my relationship to injuries, my relationship to strength training, and how I think about that, and my relationship to racing too, and just how you approach that with your mindset is just so important, is what I've realized. So that's my extended answer and kind of my intro to myself. A lot that goes into it, and it's been a cool journey.
That's what I love, man, about your running story. From everything I've seen, man, most would see a 232 and think, even I just learned something now a little bit about you. Like, oh man, he's been running forever since like he was a little kid, and now he's a 232, but it wasn't like that. Like many, you ran Chicago, one of my favorite races, and I think yours from what you mentioned. And you worked up to that 232. Like, talk to me about going from that 330. I mean, 330 first off for a first marathon. Wow, man, I'm kind of jealous here. But you stuck through it with injuries and got faster and faster. Like, when did you start to feel like, man, I need to work on something towards these injuries if I'm gonna love and improve this sport, especially starting from where like you didn't really love it in college?
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, I think that there is something to be said. Like I just was naturally uh, good at the
Yeah,
marathon, I think. And like, I always, I ran in high school and I was not bad. Like I was a varsity
yeah,
runner and all this. So I think there was some natural talent.
of
And
course.
that definitely helped me get the first 20% of the way there. I think I did have that, and it's super, super great. And, just, um, but there's another 80%. I could have always just been a mediocre athlete, I guess. And,
Yeah,
just kind of not put the work in that was necessary. So I guess to answer your question, how has it been? It's been amazing. It's been kind of surreal, I guess. Like I try to. You can get bogged down in like the day to day, and you're like, oh man, like I'm not hitting 550s how I like want to on a tempo run or whatever, and then I come home and I'm like, 2 years ago, I couldn't run that for a 5K. So I'm like, this is amazing. Like, it's just, I try to remind myself every day how lucky I am to be able to have gotten this far. So yeah, I guess the journey, I kind of touched on it a little bit, just like racing a ton, and that did help. I think I got familiar with the distance and everything. But after getting down to 304 and running a marathon every month, I met my coach, and that's kind of where everything changed. It became like you should only race two marathons a year. You shouldn't be racing one every month. So I met her, and she's a PT. She was my physical therapist, and I was actually her first client ever out of PT school.
yeah.
And it was kind of just like a really good match. And from there, we worked on PT, and I was able to run my first marathon after that, like pain free. And I was just in a lot of pain for many months, just training through it. Uh, and from there, I was like, oh, well, maybe you should just be my coach. And so that was a year and a half now, and we've been working together ever since. And that was, I've gone from a 304 to a 232 with her, and I think the proof is in the progress as far
Of
as
course,
like
yeah.
changing my training. Again, I've gone from peaking at 40 miles to 70 miles, which is obviously a huge part of it, but it's just such a lifting centric training plan that I'm on. And that's really what's made the difference for me, just targeting, understanding my weaknesses, like what's giving out first over 26 miles, and targeting those specifically has just been such a huge improvement for me.
Touching on that, what would you say were some of those weaknesses? I know you're a big proponent of strength training. Like, what do you like to work on, or helps you? Obviously everyone's different, and for me, it tends to be like my ankles for some goddamn reason. But everyone's different. What kind of injuries did you have and work on that made you a lot stronger runner?
Yeah, like you said, everyone's different. So this is really, really just for
For you,
me,
yeah.
but it can really be anything. And I think this really applies. This kind of process philosophy applies to any part of your body that you're struggling with. For instance, when I was getting hurt, when I met my PT, I had the worst shin splints ever. Just my right shin, it was just absolutely brutal. Every single run, just like in a knot. Particularly when I was doing long runs and stuff like that. And I'm certain if I had continued training like that and made no changes, that I would have gotten a stress fracture at some point.
Okay.
Um, luckily I didn't. And what made the difference there was actually my glutes and hips were not
Yeah.
strong enough. So what we did was like a gait analysis, and that's a big part of like my my team that I'm on, we do a lot of 3D gait analysis and stuff like that. And what we realize is like, if this is my left leg and this is your right leg, and like they're supposed to be straight, like this is your hips right here, they're supposed to be straight. This and my right shin down here was causing issues. My hip on this side was not strong enough to hold my other hip up, so it was like, this is my hips and it's like that. So if this hip is lower, I have to tilt my leg in down like that. That's my diagramming. I have to tilt my leg in down like that. It's putting so much pressure on my shin. So what we did was strengthen my glutes and hips a ton. So many different PT exercises, and that's really how I solved shin splints. I mean, it's not just a catch-all solution, but whenever I do hear someone having that problem, I'm like, it's not what you think. Like, you're not targeting the specific area that hurts. It's the muscles that support that area. In particularly your glutes and hips, like they support everything. Like anytime I hear someone who gets injury, like knees, shins, doesn't matter. I'm like, it's probably your hips and your glutes are not strong enough. So that was one thing. And that's kind of like on the injury prevention side. On the flip side, now I think when I've gotten past like getting injured, it's just been a long time since it's stopped me from training. So when you are kind of past that, it's more of a efficiency issue. Like, how can I become the most efficient runner possible? And also, how can I withstand sub 6 miles for 26 miles? And that was a huge problem that I was struggling with. Before this last race, it had been almost 2 years since I had gone through a marathon without cramping especially in my hamstrings and my calves sometimes too. But my hamstrings were just not strong enough to withstand 26 miles
at that pace. Yeah.
And so after Chicago in October, it just wasn't really like, I mean, I PR'd and it was a good day. I ran a 2:37 and I just knew that I could have done better. Like I probably lost I cramped from 21 on, and it was just like my hamstrings went so early and I could feel my hamstrings were not strong enough, like mile 10 on. And I'm like, and this happened in training runs too. And I just kind of was like, all right, whatever, like I'm just going to go. And something just didn't feel right. So what I did after that was I got together with my coach and we're like, how do we solve this hamstring cramps? Like, I don't think it's a nutrition thing. Like my nutrition was on point. I have such a great plan there, and I'm taking so much sodium. Like I can't take any more sodium. Like it's just not possible. There's only so much element that you can put into your body before it becomes a problem.
It can be,
yeah, absolutely. And so I did all sorts of hamstring exercises every single time that I lifted. So I probably got 24 lifts in between Chicago and Buckeye last weekend. I was hitting hamstrings every single time. Like one lift would be quad focused, one lift would be completely hamstring focused, but even in the quad one, I'm doing my hamstring exercises. A lot of eccentric movements, so like Nordic curls where you're kind of extending your legs while also working your hamstrings, as opposed to concentric movements where that would be like a hamstring curl on a machine, which is also great. So mixing in concentric and eccentric hamstring movements was kind of the key, I think. And so, long answer. This is
no, you good.
This is kind of how I envisioned it being fixed. And so, you do 12 weeks of it, and I started to feel better on long runs and stuff like that. But you don't really know what's going to happen until you race. I'm just like, I hope this works. Like, I feel better. I don't really know if it's going to help me. And so last Saturday, I went for it, and I didn't even have a single, like a lick of cramping, or even like, honestly, even my hamstrings getting tired. Like it was my calves that were tired really. And like the lower part of my legs. And so I was just so pumped. I was so happy it had been so long since I finished a marathon with a strong 10K. Like, I think that had been my slower part of the race in my last like 3 marathons or so. So it just feels good. It's just way more fun too. Like you get to enjoy yourself, and like the last like 5K, I'm like, I'm doing it. Like I'm actually doing this. Like, this feels so good. My hamstrings feel amazing. Like I don't feel terrible. Like
Yeah.
it sucks to feel terrible, especially at a race like Chicago where it's so fun and like there's so many great fans and like you're just suffering like because
Vibes
you're
high and you're just hurting. Yeah.
oh yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how I guess became a stronger runner in general. I just give a lot of credit to my coach for sure.
Well, before I go further, first off, congrats, man. Should lead with that. Congrats on the big PR and having, probably more importantly, you would probably agree to this, a good race where you felt great and amazing. Those are always, a great feeling to have. I can see the joy, man, as you're explaining this. So to go back on something, I love that you touched on this, man, because I feel like it's a big thing in the running, and now studies are coming on like, we do need to take electrolytes and sodium. But to your point, man, there's only so much 1,000 milligram elements I can take to like, hey, it's going to go the other way. You got to work on the muscle. And I think you touched on it very eloquently there. Like muscle fatigue is what's going to lead to cramps. Now, if your sodium's obviously not on point, then you got to fix that too. But like, that's another, I think, big misconception with lifting. You see a very fast runner in the low twos, mid twos, and it's like, oh, do they really lift? And you're sharing that you lift. I do want to ask you, like, do you lift very heavy, or is it more like on the muscle? I know you mentioned eccentric, concentric. Like, is it heavy lift, or more like, let me go for time and like work on the muscle and feel the muscle? If that sounds right.
It's definitely both. We have the plan where there's base exercises that are meant to be heavier. So
Got it.
on my quad focus days, I have a back squat where I'm a rudder, so I consider 200 pounds on a back squat heavy for me. So that's my heavy lift. And, I have some other like I do Bulgarian split squats that are 100, maybe like 120 pounds or 100 pounds. Yeah. A few other exercises. So I have my heavy exercises, and I do those first so that since I'm not fatigued, I'm trying to hit it as hard as possible. And then, and same on the hamstring focus days, like I do barbell deadlift as heavy as I can, 200 pounds or so. And then I have, trying to think what else would be heavy. Just like hamstring curl machine, that concentric movement. I put on as much weight as I can handle, essentially. But then I also have a whole list of like 20 PT exercises that my coach is doing. And I'm like, I don't think it would work for a lot of people what she gives me, but I've just been working with her long enough that I'm like, all right, I'm going to pick out which ones I like the best.
Yeah, you guys know. Yeah.
Do what I think works best. Those are all like pretty much either body weight or banded lifts, and not heavy. You're kind of going for form and reps as opposed to weight, especially like those hamstrings exercises that I was working on, the Nordic curls, body weight, doing like putting my foot in like a TRX band and just like doing hamstring curls in the air, body weight. Single leg RDLs, that's weighted. But those are all another example. Like, just it's a mix, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Question. Yeah.
For those listening, you heard it there first. You got to lift heavy and also lift all kinds of ways to get those big PRs.
Absolutely.
Max, you went from 1,700 miles I saw all the way to 2,500 last year. Like, obviously, we're touching on a lot of strength, but how did you make such a big jump and feel like, you know what, my body can officially handle that big of a jump, obviously through the strength training, but there's also recovery coming into play, of course, I'm sure. You mentioned 40, 70 mile peak now, getting in the lift session. How did you put that all together and feel like, you know what, this is the year I can handle it, which obviously led to great success?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, and it seems like kind of simple. I don't know. It's just kind of like, okay, sure. Is I was running 4 days a week and now I'm running 6 days a week. It's really like the biggest difference, honestly. And 4 days a week at the time felt like a lot. It was like, yeah, I'm running as much as I can handle. And so I didn't just make the change. I didn't just be like, oh, now I'm going to run 2 more days.
Two
Like
extra, yeah.
I did 4 days a week for my build up to my spring 2025 marathon. And I peaked at 50 miles.
Okay.
Which I'm going to do the math throughout here. It's like, that's 12 and a half miles per day, I think.
Yeah.
Which on average is actually, it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
We're talking about average. And then the next block, I'm like, okay, let's try and add one more. Like, and if you think about adding one more day, all I'm doing is like, I'm going to run 4 miles on this day, like this new day, like 4 miles, like keep it as easy as possible. And that to me made it seem possible to add another day. Once I add that day, I'm like, oh, okay, like this isn't that bad. Like I can handle it. I still got 2 rest days, like, and like that shorter, like easy day is kind of a rest day in itself anyways.
Correct. Yeah.
For Chicago 2025, this fall, I peaked at, I think 60. So 5 days, 60 miles, 12 miles a day. So the average goes down a little bit. And then I guess you're kind of keeping the same average, and it goes down just a tad. And then for this next build, I added one more day, and again, I did the same thing. I'm like, okay, it's going to be a 4 mile day. It's going to be a 3 mile day. And then once you add it in, you're like, oh, okay, like I can handle this. I kind of consider those like 2 days, that I'm just running easy miles. I'm not doing anything else, taking it easy as possible. Like those in effect to me, like in my mind are rest days. So that's kind of, I guess, my biggest change that I made. And I guess it sounds simple, but it can be a hard like mental block, I think, for a lot of people, including myself. Like you kind of have to wade in to the waters slowly, in that, and then you put your head down for long enough and you look up and you're like, dang, I'm running 70 miles a week for this last build at 6 days a week. That's like 11, I think, maybe 11 and a half. So the average goes down. And like, I guess to that point is you can spread out the miles so much more easily. Running 70 miles a week at 6 days a week is so much easier than running 70 miles a week at 5 days a week. It's a lot of doubles and stuff. And like, and it feels like, especially like even if when I was running 50 miles a week, like I felt like I was packing such a huge percentage of my miles into a small amount of days. And when you spread it out more, even though I'm running more total, it feels like less because it's a smaller percentage of your weekly mileage, if that makes sense.
No, of course, yeah. I'm sure many of us listening to this right now can relate, myself included. Like I've done the 4 days, the 5 days, the 6 days. I've never been quite done the 7 days because I need a rest day, but some people can.
Yeah. I don't know that I could do that. But I guess I got this, just to touch on this. I was at the BPN 50 mile ultra. One of my friends ran that. Yep. Oh, the last man standing. I'm sorry. I don't know if you saw that with those 2 guys that went like almost 300 miles. Like,
I know the one. Yep.
I was there. My friend was running it, and I talked to the BPN coach, Jeff Cunningham, and I asked him, like, I was after my spring build. I'm like, hey, I just ran this time on 4 days a week. What do you think is the best thing I can do? And he's like, well, you need to run 6 days a week. That's the best. Yeah. Like, in my mind, I was like, wow, like 4 days, like I'm doing well. Like, and I get my recovery on those other 3 days. And he told me, he's like, well, when you're resting, you're not improving. And like, if you can change those 2 days to be even maintenance days where you're not declining in fitness, you're just staying the same. That makes such a huge difference overall. Like if you do that week on week, like you're taking less rest days, like it is better. Like if you can handle it, like, and to me, I was like, I need my rest days. But I think once you get to that point that you're running 6 days a week, it feels better. And you're like, oh yeah, I am improving more quickly.
No, for sure. I mean, without nerding out too much, the mitochondria you build more, obviously, the more days you run, even if it's like I would say a very smart way you implemented that 4 miles, on a day. It may not feel like much, but like, you're building cells and mitochondria for the running and whatnot versus a full rest day where your body's like, all right, I get to relax. And it's not that hard on the body. Um, it's kind of crazy to me, but like also like welcoming, I would say that you were able to also have great success on 4 days. Granted, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you have some speed and long runs in those 4 days, or even when you do six now, correct?
Yeah. One day of speed in the middle of the week. Well, I guess it's different now. Are you asking about 4 days or 6 days?
On the 4 day, and I guess 6 days, you obviously spread it out very well.
4 days, I would have done. I do a Wednesday workout every
Okay.
week. Try and do it with others out in Chicago, and that's always fun. And then Saturday long run. Generally, would always do some sort of marathon paced miles in there. It looks a lot different now, I think,
Yeah.
than it did with 4 days. But yeah, it was two of those days. Again, like to my point, like 2 of those days you were working really hard. So it's like 50% of your runs, you're like, oh gosh, I gotta really prepare for this. And it's like kind of, it just feels like you're packing such a high percentage of your miles to be high intensity as well. And so it just is so much easier to spread it out.
Yeah, for sure. What was the well, two things I want to ask you as you ramped up the mileage. What was the mental shift like? Obviously we all know running more is going to help, but implementing it, as you said, it sounds simple, but implementing it is a whole different story. Like, I'm sure you're like, man, do I got to worry about fatigue? I got to go to work. I need more laundry. I need a lot more food. I got life.
Yeah, my laundry. Yeah, it is. It's a problem for sure. I had to buy more. I had to buy more long tights because I only had
Yeah.
2 pairs, and over the winter I'm wearing them. I can't do laundry 4 times a week. Like I don't know what I'm. So yeah, that part was a change for sure. But yeah, I it was daunting for sure. I think that the biggest part was just like, can I handle it? Um, I did have I had the time, I think, and I just cared. I care about it enough that I'm gonna wake up early enough to go do this, regardless of what I have going on that day. Um, I try and run in the morning mostly,
Yeah.
except maybe like Wednesdays. I have a run club in the evening, so that would be the only day really. But I I didn't have a problem spending more time running. I think if I could spend even more time running, I would.
Yeah.
Um, it was the mental barrier of like just adding. It was just the mental barrier of adding more mileage. I think
Yeah.
running miles. I think that was. I just care. I really do care about it a lot, and like it's my main focus outside of work and you know my relationships. So not I relationship with friends and also my girlfriend. I don't have multiple relationships.
What obviously it sounds like you're just naturally very driven, which is great, right? I can personally myself relate to that. It's not always the case, but hey, it's a good problem. um in your opinion, for you, where does it come from? Obviously you had a great success over the 2-3 years. You're continuing that success, and you obviously like, look, I'm willing to put in the work, and I'm going to wake up early. For those listening, we kind of hinted at. He said he's from Chicago. There's a certain kind of drive that it takes to wake up at 4 or 5 or whenever you get it in the morning, and it's like windy city cold. uh, where's that come from?
It's a good question. I want to give credit to my parents, probably. Most first and foremost, I think they set a really good standard for me. Just in my childhood in general, it didn't have to be athletics. I think it's really with anything, with work, with how you give your time to others. I try and put the most amount of effort I can into anything I do, whether it is running. I think it just applies to really everything with my work, with my friends, with my girlfriend. Like I'm gonna always, if I care, and usually I
Yeah.
do, I'm gonna put my full effort into that person, into that hobby, into that job. There's just my dad always used to say, if you're gonna do something, don't half-ass it. Just do it to the best of your ability. Shout out to my dad. Thank you for that.
Shout out to mom and dad.
So he always used to say that, and it kind of applied to me, like shoveling the driveway or something like that. But like it applies to everything, and that's something that I try to remind myself. So I guess in particular with running, it's just like, why would I not give it my full effort? There's no reason not to. Like, and if I care, and I really do, of course, I'm gonna wake up at 5:30 if I need to. I'm gonna wake up and get the miles in regardless.
No, I love that, man, and resonate wholeheartedly. I'm sure a lot of the runners listening do too, man. I mean, if you're gonna do it and put the miles out there and be cold and running miles, some days are fun, some days are hard, like, but you still get it in, like, you might as well go all in, you know.
But, I mean, a lot of days I don't want to be there, but I'm gonna do it anyways, just because I do it for the feeling that I had when I crossed that finish line in Phoenix, like when I pumped my fist and I'm like, I just did that. Like, it was all worth it, you know, the early mornings and not wanting to finish runs, but I do it anyways.
Your fueling, obviously you run a lot of mileage, you've increased mileage throughout the years. I'm sure food intake has gone up, and I think a lot of people, or a better way to put this is, oftentimes when you increase energy and demand, you need more fueling, right? Obviously, it's a given, but we can tend to binge or go left, right, and just fill those calories with just anything. Like, how have you been able to? I'm sure you've had to increase your fueling a lot, right? But also keep the feeling good. You're not under eating right, and what kind of good foods. How have you kept that balance and kept your fueling and approach as you've gotten from 40, 70 miles, from 330 to 230, et cetera, in the future?
Yeah, it's something that I didn't get to touch on how I increase mileage. That is 100% one of the reasons I was able to increase. I went to a dietitian, a nutritionist, and I worked with her for like 3 months, just like day-to-day nutrition. Like, how am I going to hit these certain macros for carbs, protein, fats, and then kind of talk about like fiber and some other micronutrients, what supplements I should be taking and stuff like that. But I always, I think, I'm a skinny guy. I always had a tendency to not eat. I just had never ate like a ton. Like we'd all, even now it still happens. Like we go to lunch and I don't finish my meal. I get my leftovers. Like, I'm very used to asking for a box at the end of a meal. And I think changing the way I think about food was a big shift for me. As opposed to like sitting down and being like, putting pressure on myself to like finish a meal and be like, oh, I got to eat this. Like, I did that for quite a bit, because in college I would lift and I'd be like, I want to try and gain weight, and like I would do that, and then my stomach and my body would just like shut down and be like, I'm not hungry anymore. Like, when I start to put pressure on myself like that, like that's when it doesn't go well. So I tend to just think of food as like, hey, I'm just fueling for my next run. Like, I'm an engine, I got to feed it. That's really what it is. So how I guess I worked with my nutritionist for 3 months, talked about, the day-to-day stuff. I also talked about a lot with fueling for runs before, during, and after, and especially like race days and like the 3 days before races. But I feel like I have a pretty good schedule as far as my food intake day to day. I kind of eat the same thing for breakfast every morning. I've got like my I have a bagel and cream cheese, and I have apple juice, and I've got a yogurt and chia seeds to get some fiber in. I have this mass gainer protein powder, and I mix it in with oat milk, banana, peanut butter, honey, and that's like 1,000 calories. And drinking calories has been super helpful for me. Just sometimes I'm not able to eat solid food,
My
like
food, yeah, you
that
get it in, yeah.
the whole day, and so that helps me a lot. And I'm just I kind of got into a rhythm with that early last year, where I
Okay.
was just eating 4,000 calories a day to be able to keep going. And once I was able to do that and my stomach got used to it, I think that I just was in such a better place to be able to run 70 miles a week instead of 40. So
Mhm.
yeah, I guess I try to keep it healthy. I try and cook for myself. I meal prep like twice a week, and I'll just cook enough food for like 3 or 4 days. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes I'm on a weekend where I don't have any food in my fridge.
Yeah.
I'm a 25-year-old guy living alone. Like it just happens, and I got to go out and eat Chick-fil-A sometimes. It happens. I get caught, and I try and balance it the best I can. But I'm not gonna again put so much pressure on myself to like
Exactly.
perfect. Like I don't. And that's the reality. Particularly like the week after a race, like I'm eating all sorts
Yeah,
of.
all the fun stuff.
But I try and keep it healthy. I have a pretty good regimen. That's something that I've definitely worked on a good amount.
What does like a full meal feel like to you now nowadays? Now that you've worked with a nutritionist and you got it dialed in, you mentioned sometimes you don't eat all your food and stuff, and now you eat 4,000 calories. What's like full feel for you now?
I mean, my favorite meals are ones that I cook myself. I do tend to when I go out. I don't know. Sometimes it's maybe I'm just talking to people or whatever. Sometimes I don't finish. It's they're I do have a lot of good food, and a lot of times I do finish my meals. But I, for whatever reason, just love food that is cooked by myself. Like I think I just appreciate it more when you're like, oh man, I just made this. Like this is it actually
Yeah.
like tastes good. Like so I tend to eat really well when I cook for myself, and like ton of carbs, ton of protein, and try and mix in as much vegetables as I can. Even though I'm like not a huge vegetable person, but like I do it
Yeah.
anyway. My mom tells me to eat vegetables, so I do it. Like I guess for instance, last night I made I think they're called Buddha bowls, and it's like a Mediterranean. I just made a bunch of rice and chicken, paprika, and I made some roasted cauliflower and
Well, damn. Okay.
feta cheese and cucumber, and threw it all in a bowl. I'm like, this is great. I'm gonna feel good come Monday when I got to start running again.
Yeah, that sounds fire. I might have to try that later today. Yeah, you had me at the bowl. um, do you ever have this fear? Because I know some people do, and it's like a big thing. And it sounds like no, but do you ever have fear of gaining too much weight, or like, hey, what's the right weight balance for like my marathon, and like, how do you deal with that?
Sure. I I mean, I don't want to sound unrelatable, I guess, but I've
Not just
always
you.
I've always been skinny. I think I guess maybe a lot of runners can relate to it. Like
Yeah.
just always been skinny. I've never, even if I've, like I mentioned, like I tried to gain weight for probably 2 years or 3 years, and like I I maybe managed to gain 10 pounds over the
Okay.
maybe 15 pounds over the course of that. And right when I stopped focusing on that, I just lost all of it pretty much. I don't know. I genuinely don't worry about gaining weight too much just because I run so much. I think maybe if I wasn't running, then I'd be like, oh yeah, I should probably, not eat this meal
Yeah.
or eat so much. But I think that I'm like I said, I'm like an engine, and the engine is just going to keep running as long as I keep doing this. And it's just it's kind of like the giant fire disposal from Toy Story 2, when it just kind of all like funnels in and burns up in a giant pile, and that's it, really. So, no, I don't, I don't, I sometimes I'm like, oh man, am I like too skinny? So I try and monitor that.
Okay.
If I got to the point where I was not weighing enough, then I would probably try and reframe how I think
Yeah.
about food or what I'm doing about food. But I'm at a comfortable weight. I have, I guess, to put it all in a bow, I've been right around 150 pounds for the last
Okay.
10 years, and I haven't moved more than 10 pounds.
No 148, no 153.
That's just the way it goes. But I am thankfully just a lot more like comfortable with my relationship with food. I just feel like better about eating in general.
Yeah.
Whereas there were times where I was like putting more pressure on myself to eat when I didn't have to do that.
No, man, and like everything you said, when you're doing the right things, which you are, and you've shared a lot of it on here already, like it's kind of going to be a consistent, steady thing, which is what we all strive for at the end
Yeah,
of the day, right?
absolutely.
And you have your fun obviously after the races. For me, that's ice cream, but hey, um, you know, so about races, like last year, something like 7, 9 PRs all in one year, like, and obviously you're running a lot of miles all year. How do you keep that fitness for all types of races, from a 5K, 10K. I think I even saw a relay you ran. And then obviously you setting big PR marathons. Like, how do you keep that fitness within your mileage and that turnover and speed to go on a dime, if you will, anytime on any distance?
I think that you just kind of have to have a bit of range in your training and
Okay.
variability. And you can, a lot of people talk about like, I can't remember the word. It's like having different periods of training throughout the
Oh,
year. Uh,
periodization.
yeah, periodization. Thank you.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
right now I'm spending, most of my time on the marathon and like running progression runs and doing marathon tempos on Wednesdays as opposed to anything faster than that.
Yeah.
But there are times like over the summer, particularly where I'm running a lot of 5Ks and 10Ks, and there are like 1 mile. There's a big 1 mile race in Chicago, and there's these big races in Chicago that me and all my friends do, and it's so fun to compete with them and like be a part of that community.
Yeah.
And just grown ever since I've started running. Just the amount of people that I've been able to meet and connect with and race against, it's just so fun. So that period is kind of like I'm working out 5K stuff, doing 5K pace quarters on Wednesday, and then I'm still doing my long run just because we know that's the main focus. But
Yeah.
from what I've found, I think generally, like for me at least, it all applies to everything. Like if I'm improving in the marathon, I'm improving in the 5K generally. I just think it all applies. Like the more mileage you're getting, you're just going to get better at every distance. I know that some people specialize in certain things and some people specialize in the marathon, but if you're not a pro, like if you're not Cole Hawker running the 5K, like I think that you're going to probably be improving at everything. Like and as long as you're like kind of having the range that I mentioned, where you're doing 5K workouts, you're doing workouts at 10K pace, you're doing workouts at half marathon pace, like kind of all spread throughout your block, and maybe you have the periodization where you're focusing on a certain event more. That's kind of how I have been able to improve, I think, at every distance. Like I go to my club, I have my coach do workouts for me too, and like there are all sorts of people at these clubs there that are specializing in the 5K. They only do 5Ks, and so we do a lot of different stuff. And I like to mix it up for sure. It's very fun, but I try to do the mostly marathon stuff just because I know that's kind of the main goal here.
What do people not see on Instagram, that actually makes this all possible for you?
Man, it's a good question. There's a few things that come to mind. I think one of them would be, I touch on it sometimes on social media, but just like the community and the community of runners, but also, my personal support system is just so supportive, I guess, for lack of a better term. Like they're just so encouraging, and everyone in my life is like just very helpful in how they I don't know how they help me do what I do, and like whether it's just like helping me take my mind off of running on certain days, or showing up for me on like biking next to me on a long run, and then on the same vein, like the community of runners out here in Chicago is, I mean, I could never have imagined meeting all these people that I've become friends with, and like starting my own team this last couple months, like meeting all those people and like my coach and everything, and like it's been so incredible. Like they're just so awesome, and like that's really one of the things that puts fuel to my fire, is seeing other people on the Chicago Lakefront Trail. Every time you're out there, like they're out there working, you're out there working, like you give each other a wave and you're like, yeah, like we're doing this. It's cool. And particularly when I run together in groups, like my buddy just made this. This is a run club, not my run team, but we meet on Tuesdays, and it started with like the three of us in March of last year, and like we have like 25 guys that come and go every week, and even throughout the winter, like we're showing up every Tuesday, which is just, it shows like that it's just a community of really committed people who just love to run, and that's probably one thing that I don't show a ton. Another would be I think a lot of the mindset stuff, I don't post a ton about that. I would like to. I think it's just kind of like, I don't know how to put it into a visual format a lot of the time, but
yeah,
I think the mindset stuff is so important for
Agreed, yeah.
racing and pushing yourself to be the best you can. Like I do a lot of like meditation and stuff like that, where I think that has been a massive benefit to me over the last couple of years, and like I think that helped me overcome a lot of my injury woes. It helped me. It can help you increase your mileage. Like it's just changing the way that you think about it and approach it, and visualizing races, and like like for instance, imagining me crossing the finish line at Buckeye and going like this and be like, yeah, I just ran a 2:32. Like I did that for 2 months straight. I sit down before bed and I just think about how that would feel, and being like, I am feeling this feeling right now. This is how it would feel. It feels amazing. And then the more you do that, I think the closer you push yourself towards that outcome. And that's exactly what happened. And it did feel pretty dang good. So yeah, I think that's another thing that I don't show a ton, but it's actually a huge facet of my training.
No, that's awesome, man. Love the meditation stuff too. I'm a big fan and do it myself. It comes up once you do it consistently. It comes up in the smallest things. I'm sure you can relate to this. You'll just be having a moment. I'm tired, and like for some reason, because you do it often, you're like, "Oh, wait a minute, is my face agitated right now? Am I breathing right?" And it's like, "Oh, okay, boom, I just relaxed."
Yeah, take a moment to be mindful and kind of think about yourself and what you're doing.
I love the finish line. Reminded me of Shador's a little bit, but it's always amazing when you're visualizing it for weeks on long runs, however brutal they may be, and then you the day comes and it's like, bam, let's go.
Yeah, like I'm visualizing my hamstrings not cramping up. It worked. I mean, maybe it's actually what I'm doing in practice, but if I mentally am like expecting my hamstrings to cramp, which I think a lot of the times I was in these previous races, then it's more likely to happen.
It can tense up,
Yeah. So I was going into this race being like, it's not going to happen. It's just not. Like I refuse, and it didn't. So, you could say what you want. Maybe it's a placebo, and if it's a placebo, I'll take it. I'll take whatever.
Whatever works. Hey, so you touched on it. Your Rebuild Athletic Club, what have you learned through that, and share a little bit for whoever's listening. How's that going and what you guys do?
Yeah. So it's a team embodiment of how I train. I think it's because I work with my coach very closely, and it's it's kind of the embodiment of how she and I worked together for the past couple years. It's a lifting focused team. It's a marathon team, but I think the thing that makes us special is how much we focus on lifting, how much we focus on gait efficiency, and that's one of the main I guess focuses of our team. And so we've got I think 7 runners now, and we are just growing. I mean, we started in November, and she and I were like, hey, like why don't we do this? Like, and so she started her coaching company, and she was like, let's do a running team. Like, do you want to be the captain? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like this will be fun. I'm kind of I've always just been someone who has a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm a software engineer, so I've done some stuff with that, and I haven't really done that in a while. Like I just work my job, and I it gave me a good opportunity to kind of start something new, and be a part of something from the ground up, which is something I really do love. So it's been really fun. I as you could tell, I'm a very social person, but like I said, I'm a software engineer. I work remote, and I'm like, I don't talk to a lot of people. Yeah, it's a very, very good outlet for me to talk to people and like recruit people, and like I meet with runners that are potentially interested. And it's been a really fun process building this team, and it's been cold out, so it's not a very active time for the Chicago running community. But I do think once it starts to warm up and like over the summer, like it's gonna really kick off, and I think it'll be very fun. Like we're starting our first practice in 2 weeks. We've got me and I think 2 or 3 others who are going to run Boston here. So we're going to do some fun stuff for that.
Hey, that's going to be fun.
Very fun. Got to drive out to the burbs in Chicago, though. There are no hills here in Chicago unless you want to hop on a treadmill,
I've heard, even when I was out there, everything was very flat. Which we love, but when you got to train for Boston, you need them hills. If you had a marathoner listening to this, or someone comes up to you, obviously in a rebuild, and they want to safely transition from, say, like a 3:30 marathon, what's the first thing you would like try to fix?
Well, if I was their coach, I would evaluate their gait first. I think I would we have a 3D gait analysis machine, so I guess maybe let's say I have access to that. I would use that and see where their inefficiencies are, maybe certain things that could cause injury if they're trying to increase their volume. And that's one thing that I would work on. And then, I mean, I'm not a PT, but I would give them exercises.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about this hypothetically. Like I would give them exercises for their inefficiencies, things that would prevent injury, but also increase efficiency, performance. And then from there, once you kind of working on that while creating an aerobic base, I think is super important. And then once you're at a solid point where you can run a decent amount of miles and you're not getting hurt, feel strong. I guess if they're a marathon, I mean, one thing that I've found, and again, and maybe it's self-explanatory, but like the more miles you can run at marathon pace, it's the faster you're going to get at marathon pace. Like that was one of my bigger changes that I made recently. And maybe not exactly at marathon pace, but at an aerobic level, like
close to
changing my long runs from like doing some like 4x2 miles at marathon pace over the course of a long run. Like you're getting 8 miles in, but you're taking breaks in between, and it's kind of like harder to get a rhythm. And so what that changed to be is like maybe you're doing more of a progression run, where you're getting 16 miles in from marathon pace plus 30 seconds down to marathon pace, and you're getting so much more quality volume in by doing something along those lines. And there's a lot of different ways to do it for sure, but that's a really great way to get in more quality miles, I think. and you can pair that with a faster workout on Wednesday or Tuesday, like 5K, 10K work, which also applies. So I would say those are some of the bigger things that I've learned, especially recently with getting aerobic longer efforts in. It's been huge. It's been awesome for fitness.
What's a piece of advice you would hesitate to give others that works for you?
Oh man. Sorry, I'm gonna think about this for a second.
Go for it. That's the plan.
Yeah. Well, something that's not always, but something that has worked really well for me has been just stacking like marathon blocks, like kind of back to back. That's been something that has actually worked really well for me for whatever reason. Like particularly this last one, I did Chicago, and we were just going to do Boston, and that was in 6 months. But my coach and I got together and we were like, well, that wasn't exactly the race that we wanted. Like, what if we did a race in January, and in preparation for Boston, let's start building now. Like, let's just do it. And I was able to, within 3 weeks of Chicago, be back up to like 60 miles or so. And I ended up running, the best block of my life by far. So I guess for whatever reason, stacking these marathon blocks back to back has been really quite helpful for me.
Yeah.
And I there's only so many times you can do that in a row. Like, I'm doing it again for Boston. Hopefully, the build goes smoothly again to get up to peak mileage here and over the next 3 or 4 weeks. But I don't know that I'm not going to do that again after Boston. But doing it 3 times in a row, I think seeing where I'm at right now, but I guess looking at where I was before my Chicago build in maybe 239 pace to hopefully where I'll be after my Boston build, which is, hopefully under 230 pace. It just will show how quickly I think you can improve if you're stacking these marathon blocks back to back, especially if you haven't been running for, that long.
Yeah. On that, on not running long, and obviously you're doing very well. Do you feel like you're getting close to a ceiling, or you got a lot more to go left on the tank?
I got a lot more. I do think. I mean, exciting. I've been running for 2.5 years. I've only ever run 70 miles in a week, which I guess sounds like a lot, but for these guys that are, running the OTQ or gunning for OTQ paces, they're running 100, 110, And I mean, I'm not saying I'm close or anything, but let's do the math. I'm 16 minutes off, 17 minutes off.
On 70, yeah.
There's a lot more that I think I can do in the marathon for sure. I mean, just 2.5 years in, I think if you give me another 2 or 3 years, who knows where I'll be. There could be a ton of improvement. I do believe that I have a lot left for sure. At some point, I would love to drop a pretty nasty 50 miler and see what I can do there. Maybe some 100Ks, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that is a sport that also calls to me at some point too.
Longer ultras and stuff.
I guess to answer your question, I feel like I'm just getting started. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. What excites you more? I mean, I know you got Boston right now coming up very soon. But what excites you more? Chasing time right now, getting faster and much faster, or hey, just keep building and stacking longevity? Obviously, you have a very smart approach to your running. Which one are you favoring more right now? Let me get faster, or let me keep working on the longevity and base here?
Yeah, it's definitely a balance you have to manage. I was thinking even before this race that I ran last week, because I just didn't have a great taper. I was sick. I was was on vacation. I just didn't feel like all that great. And like the week leading up to it, I was like, man, like I wish I just like kept building. Like I feel like I could just keep running 70-mile weeks up until Boston, and like that would be great. But then I ran and I was like, oh, thank God I did that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really happy. So I think that's something you have to balance. And I recognize, I just get so excited for these races. It's so fun. And I love something like Boston, like I feel like that's such an awesome and unique opportunity and experience. Like I'm going to cherish that memory forever, I'm sure.
Of course. Yeah.
But I also try to recognize, and something very important for myself when I am going into races is realizing that I'm going to run faster than this in 3 months or 6 months or whenever my next marathon is. So I try to take the pressure off that way and be like, yeah, this is just another stepping stone towards me becoming, finding that ceiling that you mentioned and becoming the best marathoner that I can be. So I guess to answer your question, I'm leaning towards the latter, just like becoming as fast as I possibly can is really like, you know, the goal, like finding my limit and stuff. But these races are nothing to ignore along the way. Like they're awesome milestones and things to celebrate. So I try to take a moment to appreciate them when they happen, but also recognizing and keeping my focus on the bigger picture.
That's awesome. Everyone listening, if you like this episode and Max's amazing story here and build process, and man, I can hear it already. He's going to get faster, putting in some great mileage and work. If you've been building yourself either in running or life, this one's for you here. This has been the People Run Podcast with Fitz. Thank you, Max, for hopping on. Until next time, guys.
Thank you.